on it. It just didn't work out right. Gabby Ziegler, the second baseman for the Chicks, said as you can see, we played glorified softball on a baseball diamond. It just didn't work real well. And when the Chicks would draw 500-600 people in a stadium that's at what, about 14,000, 15,000 people?
10.
10, if they were all.
More stood.
Yeah. So it just didn't work. It just wasn't an appealing ballpark for the Chicks to play in. The other thing is that Orchard Field was well known for having the short right field and left field porches, hitting the ball out to 7th and 8th Street. Well, the Chicks were, nobody in the American Girls League, it wasn't a home run hitting league. It was a speed, stolen base type league. The ladies could take leadoffs, unlike what you have in current high school and college softball. It just didn't fly at Orchard Field. So unfortunately, that was part of the problem. Maybe if they had played at some other diamond in the Milwaukee area, it may have worked out. That picture was taken shortly after the right field first base side roof was blown off at Orchard Field. A 100-foot section blew off on Friday, June 16th of 1944. It blew off during a Brewers game, actually a day before the Chicks were coming in for a homestand. So the roof blew off on a Thursday night. Chicks had to cancel their game on Friday, the following Friday. And then Saturday, they had a doubleheader rained out. They could play Sunday, and then Monday night was canceled because of poor weather. So you can see the Chicks had what should have been a good weekend for attendance, basically blown up by a damaged ballpark and continuing bad weather. That marker that you're going to see coming up next here, we have a historical marker that was put up back in 2008, I believe it was. That is located at Clinton Rose Park on 5th and Burleigh. And I believe the Chicks are mentioned on that. Happy Felch is mentioned on it, Tom. If you haven't been here, check it out. Okay. So Orchard Field itself is actually a part of I-43. You can drive underneath where Orchard Field was. The Burleigh Street Bridge is still there, and some of the neighborhood homes and bars and so on are all still standing, but that's about it. All right, so poor attendance. We already mentioned that the Chicks releasing Orchard Field from the Brewers, that didn't help. The Brewers had a fantastic year. They were the champs, and you can see what their attendance numbers were versus what the Chicks were drawing. Some other issues. Chicks ended up with the less desirable days. They ended up with the less desirable times, playing day games versus night games. Orchard Field had lights by then. There actually was a polio quarantine that also went into effect in late August, right during the Chicks' last homestand. Didn't help attendance when you can't bring the kids to the game. So even though they tried some of the things that even that Bill Beck tried, they tried some of the morning games for the wartime workers, they still did draw real well. Their very best game in terms of attendance was 4,400, and the only reason they did that is because they let everybody in for free. So what it was a free Red Cross night. So it was a good promotion to tie in with the Red Cross and thank you night. Connie Wisniewski was pitching, and she pitched a 4-hit shutout, so the 4,400 fans that came saw a great game, but obviously Phil Wrigley was not making money on that when everybody was coming in for free. So lots of bad luck, a lot of bad timing, and we even talk about the symphony that they tried to bring in, which was kind of their last-ditch effort to try to make it go. So let's check that out. I don't think the symphony has ever been tried again in any kind of a league that I've ever heard of. But what Wrigley and his right-hand man, a guy by the name of Ken Sells, who I was actually able to interview back in '94, he was still alive. He was the real Ira Lowenstein, played by David Strathern. He told me that, this was his quote, "We knew as early as mid-June that Milwaukee was a bust. Milwaukee was an experiment to see if a women's team could survive playing in a big minor league park while the men were on the road. This was the sole reason for playing at Orchard Field all year." So, last-ditch effort, let's bring the symphony in. And they call it the Sinfonietta. So I don't know why that was the name of it back then, but that's what they did. They brought them in during the second half. They did some advertising, and it still didn't go. So unfortunately, Milwaukee fans didn't care apparently anymore for the symphony at the ballpark than they cared for the Chicks. Sylvia Ronsky, the quote that she gave me about 20 years, she goes, "I thought it was crazy. It was the same attendance, it was the same people." So, they still had the same 300 or 400 fans coming to every game, whether there was music or not, or whether they changed the style of the music or not. So, what was interesting in 1944 is we had 3 Hall of Famers at manager, Max Carey, the only male to ever wear a Chicks uniform. Kind of an interesting thought. Love to have his jersey right about now. That'd probably be worth a few dollars. So, anyways, he was a Hall of Famer, former very famous Pittsburgh Pirate player. He managed the Brooklyn Dodgers in the early 30s. He was a very fast base runner and taught the ball players a lot about base stealing and fielding. The next Hall of Famer was Casey Stengel for his 1 year in Milwaukee, and that is a picture with him wearing his Milwaukee Brewers hat. He and our third Hall of Famer, however, Bill Beck, didn't get along real well, so that was the 1 year that Stengel was in Milwaukee, and obviously he went on to bigger and better things, but you still have to give Stengel and Beck credit. You know, they had the Brewers on their way to their American Association pennant. As I was doing the research, just kind of catching up on all this here in the last couple of months after doing most of this 20 years ago, I did read an instance where apparently Stengel and Carey kind of got into it. They were arguing over practice time at Orchard Field. That would be a fun argument to listen to. Anyways, next time you drive underneath the Burleigh Street Bridge, just remember, at 44, we had 3 Hall of Famers spending an awful lot of their time there. I know Beck was in and out of the military. I don't recall exactly what his status was at 44, but he still owned the team then. Ticket prices, another big issue, especially in Milwaukee, which is known to be a rather thrifty town. 95 cents per grandstand is the same price that the Brewers were charging. 74 cents is what Racine, Kenosha, and Rockford were charging. And, it doesn't sound like a lot to us then, but during World War II, that was kind of a big deal. The newspapers, the little bit that the Journal and the Sentinel wrote about the Chicks, at that time, it was pretty much ripping into Wrigley for charging 95 cents. So the Chicks and the league were not getting good publicity. Games were rather short, 75 minutes, they went fast. And again, the press just did not have a lot good to say about Wrigley. And here's what Wrigley said. He would not give in on this. Quote, prices of admission cannot be reduced because that would be an admission that what we offer is not as good as that which is offered at other times in the same ballpark. To cut the price in half would be the same as telling people in Milwaukee that the girls' games are only half as good as those offered by the Brewers. So that was Wrigley. So good for him for standing up for the ladies, but obviously financially it wasn't working out.
But it's true.
If you were in Racine, if you were in Kenosha, you were in Rockford, you were in South Bend, your team was pretty much the only game in town. You didn't have the ability back then due to rationing and the long work weeks to go to Chicago, go to Milwaukee, and see other teams. So, they were pretty much the only game in town, and those teams were all very popular in their towns. Here in Milwaukee, we had a lot more competition also for the limited entertainment dollars that people had. You obviously had the Brewers. There was no counterpart to the Brewers in the other 4 towns. Obviously, Minneapolis, you had the Millerettes' competition. Orchard Field still had boxing and wrestling. And also in August, the second to last homestand, again, the last homestand was kind of wiped out by the polio quarantine. The second to last homestand, they were competing with State Fair. So, the Chicks just didn't run into good luck as far as who they were up against. And, again, in Milwaukee, there's so many other places that people could go and things that people could do. And you didn't have that in small towns. All right, minimal newspaper coverage. We already saw some of the real small clips that they received. That is one of the few pictures, and that is from the Red Cross game, the 4,400 person game. That was one of the few pictures in all of August as the Chicks are on their roll that the newspapers even published. So they just had very, very small, very, very small clips and very few pictures. Whereas if you look at the newspapers in the other towns, there was all kinds of coverage and pictures and I guess even radio coverage in some of the other towns, which, certainly the Chicks were not covered by any kind of radio station here in Milwaukee. Let me see if this plays. Hopefully it'll come through. 20 years ago now, UWM, in their history department, Dr. Michael Gordon, actually, they did a oral history project where a lot of the grad school students interviewed Milwaukee Chicks. And Sylvia Ronsky was one of the ladies that was interviewed. So let me see if this comes through all right. I'm giving this same presentation to almost the same presentation to the State Historical Society in March. So hopefully they'll have some speakers, but that's all right. I understand we're in a different venue here, so it's all right, Rick. So anyways, those clips, if you ever want to check it out, just do a quick Google search. Yes, sir.
Just a little point in adding down at the bottom there in the clipping about the Browns keep going, blank Yanks.
Right.
This was 1944. That was the Browns' only.
Browns only year, yeah. Isn't that amazing? And they almost get better coverage in Milwaukee than what the Chicks get. So I know the St. Louis Browns were a big deal back then, right? But anyways, what Sylvia basically had to say about it is that because they received such little coverage in Milwaukee, that fans didn't even know what to get excited about because the Journal and Sentinel were so poor with the coverage. So there were just so many things that served to work against them staying here. However, when the newspapers did write about the Chicks, these are some of the things that they would say. They called the ball players, quote, curvaceous and talented gals, comely, the girls as sweet, as young, as shapely. These were government writers, yeah. Baseball babes. Heidi Eisen, Emma Eisen, the left fielder, she was a, quote, wisp of a thing. And she said, yeah, we had swell write-ups. They even started calling me Little Pigtails, which was true. I had good legs, but I wasn't a raving beauty. The Sentinel once described her excitement over buying a new dress. I mean, this is what the paper covered back then. They didn't care about what a great left fielder she was. They cared about where she was shopping, apparently. The Sentinel said it only goes to prove that women are women, even on the diamond. Moving on to 1944. So yeah, can you imagine if we had that going on today?
Yeah, but watch the presidential race. If there's a woman in it, they're going to talk about her clothes instead of her politics.
Now what I don't know is how Rockford, Kenosha racing, I don't know how the newspapers treat the ladies, but again, not like that, I would hope not. Yeah. So there were some issues. Another big deal that I basically learned by talking to some of these ball players and also listening in on these oral history tapes. And again, going back to the oral history tapes, just do a Google search, UWM Milwaukee Chicks oral history. Hours and hours of audio tapes, all very understandable. The ones with Viola Thompson, the pitcher from South Carolina, fantastic. You love her accent, you love what she has to say about her experience here in Milwaukee and then going on to Grand Rapids. But what was interesting is so many of the ladies said that Milwaukee had such strong amateur leagues, primarily in West Dallas, and I'm sure you ladies have heard about the old West Dallas leagues, that might have been a reason why a lot of people didn't gravitate towards the Chicks. People were familiar with the ladies that played in the amateur leagues. Actually, Vivian Anderson and Sylvia Ronsky here on their Larry Fritsch baseball cards. All those ladies were a big deal. You can see they were written in the paper, not huge clippings, but Majecki Foods, playing against teams from Racine and so on. That was a really big deal in Milwaukee. They drew great crowds, and that might have been another reason why Orchard Field just didn't serve to be a good venue for the Chicks. Everybody was down in West Dallas watching the other leagues, and I believe that amateur had to be free, so another big difference there too. All right, so Dennis, here it is on the team names. Early in the season, they were called the Brewerettes, and then Schnitz was also a big deal. And a Schnitt, I don't know German, even though I have a German last name, but a Schnitt is a little beer, little brewer, so kind of ties in with the brewers' names. Brewerettes, like the Millerettes, and then the Chicks. There's the story on the Chicks. There was a very popular book, and in a 1938 movie, Mother Carries Chicks. So Max Carey, Chicks, Chickens, that's where it all came about. Nothing to do with the terminology from the 60s. So one other thing to notice, again, how terrible the press was. It was Merle at Kegel, not Klegel. So they couldn't even spell her name right, and that was on July 25th, and she had already been with the team for over a month. So kind of an issue, and that clipping is from the Milwaukee Journal. The Journal never called them Chicks. Phil Wrigley, for some reason, just kind of waffled on the whole team name. He never really said that, well, yeah, we need to be the Chicks, and we need to make sure the newspapers call us the Chicks. Just wasn't a big deal for him, so probably an identity issue as far as marketing. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, the marketing was terrible. Day ad, they didn't even mention the team name. I think it said South Bend, but they never said Chicks, Brewerettes, Schnitz, anything like that. So, if you don't give your team a name, it might be a little difficult to get people to latch onto that. So, Wrigley did have some marketing issues. Maybe he sold Tom well, and maybe he did well with marketing the Cubs, but it didn't work here in Milwaukee with the way he handled it. So, anyways, we have team name issues, which didn't help. Now, let's get on to the good stuff here. Let's get on to the ball players, the manager, and the chaperone. So, 17 ball players. There were a few ball players in and out during the course of the year, but the main 17 ball players, we're going to cover about 10 of them. And those are the positions that they played. All those ladies we will cover here. And there again is that late season team picture courtesy of Sylvia Ronsky. There is the only actual roster I've ever seen of the team, and that came from the 1945 Major League Baseball Facts, Figures, and Official Rules, actually published by Whitman here in Racine. They actually had all the stats from the 1944 season also. Some of the heights and weights and the batting, not quite accurate from what I found out later on, but you will notice that most of the ball players, actually pretty much the range of age was 1918 to about 1925. So we actually had like Betty Whiting as an example. She started playing with the Chicks when she was only 18 years old, turned 19 during the course of the season. So quite a range in age, but again, all quite young. Some getting out of town, getting, just like a league of their own. Dottie left town with Kip at a fairly young age, first time they ever went to the big cities. Yes, sir.
Did they have 9 players on the field?
Yes. Yeah, no, it was 9. Right, it was 9. Yeah, so yeah, about the only difference versus modern day fast pitch softball would be the leadoff and the 68-foot bases. We're at 60 now. So yeah, that'd be about the only real difference. But yeah, 9 players on the field. So yeah, we got a straight left field, center field, right field. All right, so we'll start out with captain Gabby Ziegler. She played with the Chicks all the way through 1954, one of the most famous players in league history. Died in 2005, gave some great interviews when I was able to talk with her about 20 years ago. You can see the damaged bleachers behind her on the right-hand picture. And then the picture with her and Max Carey and Dottie Hunter. So captain, chaperone, and the manager all in one picture. And she was a good fielder. She wasn't a real strong hitter early in the league. But when the league went overhand, then she became a star